Dr. Mark Studin, and thanks to ChiroSecure, I get to share such unbelievable information with you as we've been doing for the past years. And it's an honor to do that and partner with them because frankly, they're the best out there. Now, today I'd like to discuss what advanced credentials mean to a chiropractor. And we're going to go to the screen and just share with you. I never really understood this growing up in chiropractic, and I'm in the game 44 years. And someone once told me it'll take medicine to validate chiropractic, and I thought they were full of crap. But, as we've gotten advanced credentials, and I work right now with many different chiropractic colleges, but predominantly Cleveland University in Kansas City with Dr. Cleveland, the school, and I work with the State University of New York at Buffalo School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences, and we get courses co-credentialed. So you get courses credentialed through Chiropractic Academia for your CE, and you get CME credits, continuing medical education credits, AMA Category 1 PRA credits. And I never thought it was important. And it took me 10 years to do that. And it was a lot of hard work and a lot of kissing tushies to get there. And we did it. But here's what it means. I was having a conversation with a medical primary care provider about 7, 8 years ago. And I showed him a Simverta report, an X-ray digitizing report, and I was talking about chiropractic. And he looked at the report and he looked at me, and he was a social friend, but very straightforward and transparent. And he said, Mark, listen, I love you. We'll go fishing together. We'll go out to dinner together. But don't give me this mumbo jumbo chiropractic stuff. And I looked at him and I says, well, and by the way, he was a medical primary care provider from a little community called Yonkers, New York. Had probably the largest medical primary office in the county at that time. And he saw a tremendous amount of people. He's been in the game at that point in time, probably about 30 years. He said, don't give me that chiro mumbo jumbo. I've heard it from every chiropractor in my community. They all want my referrals. They all want everything. So I said, listen, what I'm sharing with you is taught in SUNY, State University of New York, State University of New York at Buffalo Medical School. It's where it's taught. And I have advanced credentials through the State University of New York at Buffalo School of Medicine in spinal biomechanical engineering, which is just what this is. And it shows where the lesion is. And I went on to explain that the majority of your back cases, your spine cases, are non-specific back pain, which means there's no fracture, no tumor, no infection, no operable herniation, no systemic disease. So you don't know what it is, so it's non-specific and it's off to the PT. Now, when you send it off to the PT, if PT is the first provider for treatment, according to the evidence and the research from physical therapists in the VA system, that in 90% of the patients, opiate use goes up by 80%. And the other 10%, it doesn't lower opiate use. If PT is the first provider for spine, compared to chiropractic, disability goes up 313%. Injections go up 53%. Spinal surgeries go up 50%. Conversely, if chiropractic is the first treater for spine, opiates go down by 55%. And according to Natadon, with a cohort, meaning a group number of over 8,023,000 individuals over 4 years published in 2020, there's a 96% positive outcome rate for chiropractic. So when PTs are failing in 90% of the time, and actually 100% of the time with mobilization, chiropractic is passing 96% of the time. So this is all based upon outcome studies. The outcome studies are great and it's wonderful, but he considered me, before I gave him those outcome studies, somewhere below a physical therapist and somewhere above a massage therapist. As soon as I explained to him that I had AMA Category 1 credits from SUNY Buffalo Medical School, right away his eyes lit up and I became a peer, not just a lowly chiro below a PT. So, and that's important because he didn't look at me as a technician. I was one of him. Now, all of a sudden, he looked at me with different eyes, put his different glasses on. He looked at the paper. He said, where did you learn this? I said, well, this is published in the NIH and it's taught in SUNY Buffalo Medical School. He goes, really? So he sat and spoke, and I told him to look at the bar graph on the sheet. L2, L3, L4, the bars were going at about 1 inch. L5, the bar was going at about 6 inches. I told him, you tell me where the primary lesion is. He pointed to the 6-inch L5. It's a no-brainer. He drank the Kool-Aid based upon the evidence in the literature, based upon my credential, my advanced credential. By the way, I learned the same thing from SUNY Buffalo Medical School that I did from Cleveland University, Kansas City Chiropractic and Health Sciences. Identical information. But the prejudice exists. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. And you could say, I'm a healer, and thump your chest. It doesn't mean anything to them. We open the emotional trapdoor of acceptance. As a result, I don't practice. He went to a local chiropractor in his community, and all of a sudden he started referring 25 patients a week. His son, who was a first or second year an undergraduate, as soon as he graduated, put him through chiropractic college. Now his son is getting 25 new patients a week for referrals. Can you imagine if every medical primary provider did that? Think about what it would mean to our schools. They would be bursting. We need a lot more. Your practices would be closed practices. That's what advanced credentials means to a chiropractor. I was on the phone, and I have a strong relationship with many insurance company senior claim reps and many insurance company lawyers. And I had a unfettered or unfiltered conversation with a senior supervisor from one of the insurance companies. I can't name whom. And they said, "Oh, Dr. Studin, we know all about your credentials and what you teach." And the doctors, we look at their credentials, whether we're going to determine how many visits we're going to give them. This is not all, this is some. But you know what? You know, death by 1,000 cuts. You close up all those little things or holes in the bucket, you close them in. The next thing you know, your bucket's filling up a whole lot faster. We know the credentials. That helps us determine who we're auditing, who we're denying, who we're paying, because we know your level of documentation is going to be better with advanced credentials. And having medical credentials matter tremendously. I had a doctor I was just with. We did a seminar this past weekend, and I was with the doctor, and he said State Farm refused to pay his claim. Two claims, $14,000 and $13,500. They refused to pay. He says, well, they said take 50%, and this is Allstate directly. He said no. So they asked him to send him his CV. He sent them his CV. They paid him in full because they don't want him in court against them with those credentials and that knowledge base. They're going to go after the ones that aren't paying. If you have a personal injury practice, credentials matter to the lawyers, to the judges, to the juries. If you have a managed care practice, it matters to the carriers of when they're going to consider to audit you. Listen, I'm not, if you're committing overt fraud, like if you're doing 72 hours of care in a 24-hour service, you're screwed, okay? If you have the same soap notes that are not randomized, that's called predetermined treatment plans. There's a myriad of things you need to have, but advanced credentials are critical. They're critical. And it goes to something called the Daubert Standard, D-A-U-B-E-R-T. The Daubert Standard, and I just met last week with 3 insurance companies. I met with their prosecuting attorneys that go after chiropractors. And I met with them and I said, listen, we follow the Daubert Standards. What does that mean? And this is what the insurance companies use to deny claims, to audit you, or to sue. Does the doctor have credentials to do what they're doing? For instance, a plumber has to meet the Daubert Standards too. Does the plumber have training in being a plumber? Does the chiropractor have training in being a chiropractor? But if you're doing decompression, if you're doing laser, if you're doing EMGs, if you're doing spinal biomechanics, if you're doing X-ray digitizing, do you have advanced credentials in MRI interpretation or spinal biomechanical engineering? You've got to have those credentials. The second is scientific evidence. Well, is what you're doing accepted in the peer-reviewed scientific literature? So your reports have to reflect that. And by the way, who has time to look it up? And you've got to change those references periodically. You can't use the same ones all the time. You've got to change those references. So for people who use EMR Chiro, which I created, once a year I change all the references for you. You're not using the same ones. There are companies out there, 14 years haven't changed the macro. You're screwed if that happens. It's not if they're coming, it's when they're coming. So you've got to change references. And lastly, is their methodology built in? And that's all part of the Daubert Standard. So again, in EMR Chiro, what we created, for everything we do, whether every test, methodology is put in. Whether it's an orthopedic test, x-rays, MRIs, we put the testing in there. You've got to do all that stuff. But then credentials is the foundation of everything. When I said this to the insurance industry, we follow the Daubert Standard. You know what they said? Oh my God, you just let our secret out. That's why we never lose against chiropractors, because you folks don't understand that. You keep thinking, oh, I'm a healer. You can put whatever you want. No. I could use the same macro that I've used for 14 years. They want you to. The legacy chiropractic systems that have been out there forever that many of you are using, meaning the names that you know of in chiropractic that's been sold in chiropractic for decades, guess what? They're losers every single time to chiropractors because the insurance companies win Not 60 or 70 or 80, 90% of the time. They told me they win 100% of the time, which is why I reached outside chiropractic and I built chiropractic templates for a more robust system to protect you. You can't be protected in one of those legacy systems. You can't be. It's just not possible because they're using the same macros. And I wrote the macros for many of those companies. So I know what they're using. And they're outdated. They've never been updated. And they're dangerous for you. So be careful. So listen, your advanced credentials means a lot. You have to take CE. I urge you to take CE first that's meaningful towards what you do. That's always approved by a chiropractic academic institution. That's important to have that behind you, okay? And I urge you, if possible, take credentials that are co-credentialed through medical academia. The ones we do at the Academy of Chiropractic at teachdoctors.com, everything is co-credentialed through medical academia, and we don't charge you extra. Why? Because we're not looking to rip you off. We just want to give you a bulletproof way of practicing, of doing better. And I don't care if you use us or use other people, it doesn't matter. Find something meaningful that will make you bulletproof, get you paid, and get you busier. Listen, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I'm Dr. Mark Studin, and we'll catch you next time. And again, thank you, ChiroSecure. It's great to have this forum.